leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Blackbox Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham. Alabama Blackbox Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. WireBee is an AI-powered call automation platform built for freight brokers, designed to screen every inbound call in real time, block spoofing, phishing, and double brokering scams, verify compliance through integrations with FMCSA, Highway, and My Carrier Portal, and automatically connect brokers with qualified, vetted carriers, all before a human ever picks up the phone. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day.
Yeah, happy hump day. How's it going?
Going well, going well. I was just thinking about this. It's going to be, we're going to see each other, what, in 2 weeks now? A little less than 2 weeks? About 2 weeks?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'll be in and out. I'm just coming up for that day. So I'll be flying in the night before and then flying out that night. So quick trip for me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, should be a fun show today. Shout out to our sponsors. I'll let you obviously take Blackbox.
Yeah, Black Box Logistics, the People's Choice 3PL freight brokerage out of Birmingham, Alabama.
People's choice. All right. HT Ships, we are out of Reno. If you're looking to be an agent, love to chat with you. Sales Dash CRM, the OG sponsor. They were a sponsor before our first episode even went live. It's been, 18 months with them. Freight Specific CRM, Josh and Drew are fantastic. Will's company uses it. We have agents that use it. We both met Josh and Drew in person. Great people. And our banner sponsor. We've also met Rob and Ryan in person a couple times. Fantastic people, fantastic factoring company, top 10 factoring company based out of Kansas City. Yeah, definitely if you're looking to factor, give them a shout.
Yeah, and they will be at BCS. That's what Matt and I were talking about there early on stage. We'll be doing a panel. So anybody in the audience that is going to be in attendance, feel free to reach out. Would love to meet some people in person. Yeah, man, pumped about this show, and I feel bad. So for those of you that don't know Ryan Morrow, he's from Cincinnati, and I was recently in Cincinnati, and I shared a take on I don't know if I want to call it famous or infamous Skyline chili. But me personally, I'm not a fan. And then I guess Ryan had met his wife working at Skyline or something. So we got started off on a good foot there.
Yeah, I've not had their chili. I've been to Cincinnati, but I've not had their chili. But they have a nice stadium there. The Reds. I've been to a Reds game there. They got a nice stadium.
Yeah, you're not missing out on the chili. For those of you that aren't familiar with Skyline chili, and I'm sure I'm gonna get something wrong here on the ingredients, but essentially all you need to know is chili on spaghetti, which is two foods that you really, there's no reason to mix them. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but for whatever reason they do, and everybody loves it. But anyway, yeah, we'll go ahead and bring Ryan on stage with that intro. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
What's up, guys? Hey, if you would have told me that you were just going to start the show off by dogging Skyline, I probably would have been like, you know what, guys, we'll just pass up on this one. You're messing with our baby, bud. Yeah, man. It
wasn't planned. If it makes you feel any better, I just we got onto the topic of Cincinnati, and I had to. Man, it's what the show's about, spreading the truth. Not industry logistics. There's a lot of logistics folks in Cincinnati, so yeah, had to give my take on the good old Skyline chili. Good old.
Yeah, man. It's not for everybody. That's all right.
Yeah, you got to ignore Will on some things. He still thinks Birmingham is like a mecca for freight.
I don't think well, Birmingham is kind of a mecca for freight, so that was a crazy take. But anyway, yeah, I mean, real quick, we'll get into it. I don't want to get too distracted, but for the audience, I think they would agree. We go Chicago, Birmingham, Chattanooga. I put Chattanooga third.
I put Cincinnati. Cincinnati's, we'll get into this, but Cincinnati's a real growing freight market. I mean, I've talked to a couple tech providers and other people's more and more brokerages, really fast growing ones. Like Cincinnati's got to be in the top 5, I would think.
Easily.
Yeah, I would put Chicago. I'd go Chicago, Cincinnati, Birmingham, Chattanooga. If it makes you feel any better, Matt, since we're just stacking cities on top of Chattanooga at this point. Ryan, before we get too far off track here, because we will, give us a little bit about your background, what led up to Fura Freight, and just where you are today, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, again for having me. I appreciate it. But yeah, like you guys were mentioning, Cincinnati's kind of a freight mecca. We can disagree where it stacks up on the top list, if it's 1 or 1. But I started at TQL back in 2009. And ironically enough, you guys had a guest on a couple episodes ago, Chris Fields. And I was telling the guys, if you know the TQL model at all, you get started, you get assigned to a broker, and I was with Chris Fields. I was his first trainee, and so we go back a long time. But yeah, I started in 2009, spent 8 years here in Cincinnati, growing teams, growing my own book of business. And then when we really launched into national expansion, going to many of the cities that you guys know a lot of folks at today, including Tampa, I left town with a few guys, went to Raleigh, North Carolina, started our office down there. Actually brought a couple guys up from Tampa, from that team, from Chris's team, to help seed us in Raleigh. It was awesome. We went down with 4 people, and when I came back to Cincinnati 3 years later, we had around 80 guys and girls in Raleigh. Came back to Cincy, spent a couple more years at TQL, and somewhere in the mix of COVID, coming back from lockdown, and when I started at TQL, I had was just about to get married, had no kids. Coming out of COVID, I had 4 kids with a 5th on the way. I got 5 boys. And so in the midst of lockdown and all that, I actually left TQL and barely into my non-compete. I'm like, I gotta start thinking about what I'm going to get back into with freight. So as soon as my non-compete ended, I joined up with a startup, a San Francisco startup at the time called Inception. And we were trying to build kind of an aggregator, carrier agnostic Expedia experience for freight with a bunch of APIs and different things we were trying to build, and met a lot of really great people, including Jeff D'Angelo during that time, who is our CEO here at Fura. And D'Angelo also started at TQL. He's one of the early employees at TQL. And then he was employee number 1 at Megacorp Logistics when that launched. And he had joined up with some folks, Phil, our chairman CEO, and they were launching kind of an organic model at Fura. And so January last year, it's almost 2 years ago, I joined up with Jeff to lead sales here at Fura. And it's been just pedal down since the beginning of last year on the organic side. And we can talk more a little bit about we also have a merger and acquisition type model. But yeah, it's been a good run. I've been able to do this for 16 years, learned a lot, and yeah, a lot of connections, including you guys, in that TQL world, and especially here in Cincinnati. There's a lot of companies, like you mentioned, that are kind of bouncing out of that family tree, if you call it.
Yeah. So speaking of just kind of being all out, so I'm going to read a little bit about when you were VP of Sales previously of CRO. You've got some statistics here, which just kind of displays how quickly you guys are growing. Yeah. So as VP of Sales, I'll lead our efforts for organic growth, customer success, and account management. Trailing 12-month benchmark organic sales exceeding 10 million gross revenue in a market notable for difficult organic growth environments. Fura has achieved year-over-year increase in new logos by 110%, along with shipment growth on key accounts exceeding 100%. Fura is also experiencing a 4-year run rate growth of over 400% and a 3-year run rate of 100 or 540%. So those are some account numbers there.
Yeah. That the 3-year run rate is what puts you on the Inc. 5000 list, that all new startup type brokerage folks love to be on. And we were 26th fastest growing brokerage. 26th fastest growing logistics company, 5th fastest growing brokerage on that because of that run rate. The growth has been dramatic. Even, it's a tough environment. I mean, you guys know, it's a tough environment to get the attention of shippers, to get a conversation with shippers, let alone, get meaningful business that's has some LTV, some lifetime value, has some meat to it. And we've been really fortunate to build a really good team and to be able to execute. You guys know, you can't just be like, hey, look at us, we're the shiny new object. I mean, nobody cares right now in this market. You gotta be able to deliver and execute on what you say you can do. So we've had a lot of success with growing not only new logos, but really sticking with kind of what always has worked best with communication, different things like that to earn trust even in this market.
I love you touching on the lifetime value of an account, right? It seems, at least in my perception, it seems like a lot of people hyper-focus on customer acquisition, right? Like getting that first load with that new account. But like, who really gives a damn if it's like one and done? It's the accounts with that lifetime value that the volume of shipments that you can, hang your hat on and look back, 4 years from now and say, hey, we've grown with this account. We're still working them, expanding our load share. That's the good stuff. I think a lot of people miss that. And speaking on the different scenario here, we're talking about that shiny new object from the broker to the shipper, but brokers just kind of looking at each shipper as the shiny new object, right? So I think that's important for anybody tuned in. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to have good discernment. You, as a sales leader, you want to get super excited and build your culture around celebrating things that are good, and it's good to get new customers. But you have to have good discernment. Not all business is good business. You have to be able to be stingy with your time when you're a startup and you're trying to be lean and you're trying to be profitable. You have to be stingy with resources in the sense that, hey, I want to be able to give so much attention and so much quality to this customer that you have to be able to deliver on that. Sometimes it means making sure you're going after the right customers, making sure that you're spending that focus, that time on that. Now, the hard part is in this market, you can get a really good customer that is in that ICP or is in that group that you would love to that you see a lot of LTV potential with, but you can't just walk in the door and take a big bag of freight. And so it's like you also have to be patient enough to say, well, we're still going to deliver at a high level. We're still going to execute at a high level. And you kind of have to be patient enough to earn the trust and do two things: wait for the market to kind of change, but also just continue to elevate that relationship.
Yeah, that can be a tough thing to do. We drift off into a lot of nuance with that discernment, which I think ultimately comes from just seeing it over time. Somebody like yourself who's been in the freight game for a while, determining, are we going to get the ROI on this or not? I've said this before, and a lot of people disagree, but I often say sometimes you have to eat shit before they'll serve you steak. It doesn't always pay off, but sometimes that's the way it is, especially in this market, right? But it's so easy, especially if there's any cradle to grave models out there, to allow a shipper to monopolize your time, and then your ceiling set here with maybe like a mid-tier customer, and you just find yourself well, I don't want to go to extremes with it, but a lot of times just like hating your life working with this shitty customer who's awful, tough to deal with. You're just not really getting the return on that. So one of those, such as freight.
You have to be, I've seen it a million times. I mean, you have to have a level of humility. I mean, you can't be afraid people get, especially in this market, they get so desperate for logos that it's like you compromise what your company does well. And what we're trying to build here, and things that we've learned the hard way, and things that we've learned from being in the big box brokerage world, where it's sometimes at no fault of your own, you're in this spray and pray, who can I get? And we're trying to explain to our folks, hey, we're really fortunate to be in this market and be lean in this market where we can say, hey, who do we actually want to focus on? Who do we actually want to be in a relationship, in a partnership with? And we go and we try to do that. And you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to say, well, it's not the right customer. You can't let desperation or fear or you can't let your numbers rule over what you're trying to be as a company. It's just too hard to scale that way if you start that way.
Yeah, I like how you said grateful to be in this market, or it's a benefit. I like the framing there. So yeah, I think that my belief or take is that any market, if you frame it the right way to your organization and your people, there's advantages to it, right? So a lot of people look at this market and just kind of wallow in it. It's like, oh, it's slow, it's business and stuff. Or you can frame it to a way where it's actually an advantage. And man, I even two extremes, and I don't want to celebrate or be grateful for any company ever having issues or going under, but we picked up a lot of reps from companies that are really struggling, having financial issues, and that's been a huge catalyst of growth for us. So, I mean, there's opportunity everywhere. I think it's just how you position it and play your cards. And as being a 3PL, you have a lot more cards to play than somebody that's got 100 trucks and you're kind of like stuck to a certain line of commitment or just what assets entail. Matt, I don't mean to monopolize. I keep talking. I feel like you're about to say something, so I don't mean to cut you off every time.
No, it's all good. I was just kind of curious because you would this kind of going back a ways now, but it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about, I think, too. But I know you started at TQL. Obviously, your CEO was the first employee at Megacorp. Are you guys like building in this model similar to like a Megacorp TQL, like cradle to grave type model?
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's a great question, and we're not to give you a lazy answer. We're kind of a hybrid, and I'll tell you why. So we learned a lot growing up. I'll call it growing up in these companies. Big brands, very successful. We learned a lot. At the same time, there's a lot of blind spots when you're, in that model, in that kind of structured approach. And as we built this, we've kind of thought, okay, what's the best practice of that world that we can translate, take over? What are the absolute must haves that we can shoot for? What are the things that made those companies so great? And we're not afraid to say that there's lots of things that make those companies great. I mean, I think as a business leader, if you can't look at a company in your space that's doing really well and be like, man, that's awesome, then like you're going to have a hard time. And so we've decided from the beginning that if there's things that work and they're great, like let's do it. Even when it comes to our tech, and some of the stuff that we do, we don't, if there's we were talking before the show, like we work with fields at Zell. Like if there's other people that can help us, like we don't have to go build everything from scratch. We're happy to do these things. It's the same way with our mentality. We learned a lot of good things. Now, at the same time, we're trying to go about this in a way that allows us to give the customers a different experience. And so when we talk about blind spots, it's like, what are the things that if we could have done it all over again, we put a ton of human capital in. We don't want to go hire 40 brand new college grads, the third Monday of every month. Like we don't want to go about that and just throw. Number one, we can't. Number two, what can we automate? What can we optimize for? There's all this new tech and stuff that we're building or stuff that's out there already. And so the way we're looking at it, Matt, is what are those best practices that serve the customer the most? What are those things that don't really serve anybody that we can automate? What are those things that ultimately just take a lot of human capital and actual capital to go do that we can take off the plate of a rep here? And so they can spend all their time solving those problems for the customers. So when you do that and that's your goal, it looks a little different. We do have a lot more what I'll call horizontal services than maybe that cradle to grave, like shotgun model where this is my account and I'm going to build this empire. And it's all, single point of contact, and I'm going to live and die for this shotgun model. I'm just going to make my empire as big as possible. I love that for the motivation piece. Hey, go make as much money as you can. But from a serving the customer, trying to reduce duplication of efforts, there's a lot of horizontal services that we add that makes us a little different internally, Matt. But at the customer level, yeah, we still have the account manager that wakes up every morning thinking about that customer, that goes to bed at night thinking about that customer, that wakes up in the middle of the night and it's like, oh crap, did I do that? Like we still want that intensity. We don't want to be casual whatsoever. Like that's the best part of the TQLs of the world. There's a certain level of intensity that you don't see everywhere. Like we want that. Absolutely, we want that. But we want to be as smart as possible with the tools that are out there, whether we built it or not. Kind of sit the ego at the door and put the customer on the pedestal and say, what can we do? And if that means that some of the old power and control of the cradle to grave broker, we kind of lose some of that, we're okay with that, because ultimately, we want to build our business around, is it scalable? Is it profitable? What's the customer experience like? And so that's kind of that's kind of at the forefront. So there's some things that differ.
Hearing a lot of adaptability. I mean, you see a lot of companies, I think, in this market that are like, oh, we're going to build everything ourselves. We're only going to do one model. They're like, take very hard stances on things. And it sounds like from everything you've been saying, whether it be from a tech standpoint, a cradle to grave versus split, the combination of your own accounts and acquisitions, you guys have a pretty open-minded leadership team and adaptability, which I mean, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but has a lot to do with your guys' growth and success.
I agree. And we talk about it, and we talk about it a lot. Like you don't fail alone. You can't be afraid to fail. Like Jeff D'Angelo's our CEO, and like he'll be the first one to be like, guys, we screwed this up. Let's pivot. In the startup environment, that's not always the case. People dig their heels in, even if it's a bad idea. And it's like, we're not doing that. And to your point, Matt, I'll give you an example. So I mentioned I opened the Raleigh office, and we went down there with 4 people. And one of the things that TQL does really, really well is everything is in-house. Everything. We had a bathroom door fall off our rented space in the stall, and one of our facilities reps from TQL came down to Raleigh to fix the door, because if you didn't have a TQL logo on, you were not coming in my office. And so it's like I had to outsource bathroom doors. I couldn't outsource bathroom doors. So it's like, and again, it's not an insult. Like that is you want to talk about a well-oiled machine. However, what we're trying to build, it's like, hey, if you're great at this and you're investing all this money in this, and there's folks that are seeing the success that actually adds value to what we're doing for our customers, like, let's partner, let's work together. And it has led to a lot of our success, especially on that merger and acquisition side, like you mentioned. Part of our model, we have a 2-part kind of growth model. One is organic, which is obvious, try to go get new business, but also we do mergers and acquisitions. We did a merger and acquisition in January with the Chicago company, Pinwheel Logistics. Great dudes, great people. They have solid customers. They had this Chicago split model, and the culture and environment that we wanted to try to do is like just rinse and repeat. What's the absolute best things about that team? What can we learn from that team? What are they doing in compliance that's better than what we do in compliance? Like, what can we learn? What can we adapt? What can we say, wow, I love the way you guys do that. Like, congratulations, you're in charge of that. We're doing it now. It's like, and so we've taken that approach as much as we can, top to bottom. And then kind of secondarily, what holds us accountable to that is one of our values is, we say all the time, like, think like an owner, because if you do that first part really well, and then you enable your folks to like raise their hand when they have good ideas, or raise their hand when they're drowning and failing. I think we all know sometimes you're kind of like, you in this industry, you kind of have reservations sometimes about raising your hand and saying you need help, because it's such a tough, cutthroat industry. And we've tried to build our team around, like, absolutely not. Like, nobody's failing alone. Like, raise your hand. Like, tell us what you need, and we'll either build it, go buy it, try to solve around it. Like, and so it's worked really well for us, for sure.
No, it's definitely cool to hear kind of your path on that, and just kind of mixing and matching things. We don't really talk much about mergers or acquisitions, on the show before. How do you guys kind of, maybe for people watching, like, how do you guys go about, finding companies you might want to invest in? Is there a whole team, dedicated to that? Is there things you look for? Because it's obviously, it sounds like that's a big part of your guys' business. And that's not something we've really talked about in the podcast before.
Yeah, it is a big part, and we don't have a big team. I mean, look, like, so most of the senior people, we have so many people on our team that's been around for a long time, and we've got guys that were at Echo in the early 2000s. We got guys that were at TQL in the early 2000s, and we've got girls that worked in different of the tech side, and so we've got this network, and we've tried to hire. This might sound really silly, but like, we've tried to assemble a team of folks that in general treat people well. And so, and don't have, egos that wouldn't fit on this screen. And what we found is when you do that, and you have a network that, like Will mentioned earlier, it's a tough environment out there. And there are a lot of really good people that have brokerages that are either A, struggling, B, they're up against their mental wall, where it's like it's not necessarily that they're bankrupt, but they're just like, hey, I need some help. And so that's, like I mentioned, that's our culture. That's our culture on the M&A side too. It's like, our go-to-market on the M&A side is, hey, if you're a brokerage that in a position where you still like what you do, you'd like to be a part of it, like merge with us. Let's sit down. Let's look at numbers. Let's talk about your accounts. Let's see how we can fold you into what we're doing. Give you the tools, give you the tech, give you the resources. I mentioned earlier, we work with Zelle, talk about how can we support some of your guys with offshore team? How can we make you more profitable? How can we put more money in your pocket, but you can sleep a little bit better? And so that's kind of our approach to M&A. And the kind of caveat of that is when that happens, we're able to kind of capture the talent a little bit better, because we're, like I mentioned, like we've got great folks here that were part of that Pinwheel team. We've got great folks here that were part of the AOK Freight team, which was an acquisition we did a few years ago. And it's like those folks have a home here, and their accounts have a home here, and it helps us retain the accounts, it helps us retain the talent. And so that's kind of our M&A model. Like, it's who do we know? We want to be people that if somebody knows a brokerage team that's struggling, they're like, hey, you should call these dudes.
I like that last part you brought up too, and then I'll let Will, because I feel like I'm monopolizing the conversation now. But you mentioned like retaining the talent and accounts, because I think, in recruiting myself and talking to other recruiters, oftentimes companies who are doing acquisitions, those are the targets of where recruiters are going, because sometimes the mergers, acquisitions, it's a massive change for people, and then they look elsewhere. They're open to switching a job. So it sounds like that's where your guys' culture really comes into play too, to avoid that, because obviously mergers and acquisitions aren't going to work well if you acquire a company and 30% of the accounts and reps just walk out the door within the first 2 months.
Yeah, and it's the tech and the tools too. It's like, some of those, you have to ask yourself, why are some of those companies in this position? And we're interested in the ones that it's the answer to that is not like they're frauding their customers, or they, we don't want those ones, but the ones that are like, maybe they're just on spreadsheets. They're in a bad TMS. They don't have the operational chops. They are drowning in AR. They are, their after hours is in shambles. They don't have good rating tools. They don't know how to complete, like when we go into those situations and we say, here's our tech stack, here's what we built, here's some of our AI, here's some of our rating tools, here's our surround product that puts 360 visibility in front of your customers, here's our Fura Pulse rating product. Like, we have these products that are mostly internal that we can say, hey, if you come on board to this and you're like, I'm in, like you're going into our environments using our tools, like you're gonna be able to serve your customers even better. You're gonna be able to take your accounts to the next level. So it's not even about retaining. It's about, for us, we look at it as like we're supercharging those accounts, if anything. And that also helps you kind of de-risk some of those accounts that just won't come over. There are accounts that won't come over. And if you supercharge the talent, you supercharge the accounts that will, then you kind of de-risk that attrition that comes with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing to think about. I mean, I guess I'm just thinking about it from Black Box's perspective. Like, when we started, there's just so much that, I mean, there still is so much that we don't know, right? And a lot of the catalyst for growth or thing, a lot of it's low hanging fruit that we just didn't have exposure to. And then we meet somebody who has ran a brokerage or been around. They're like, well, like, this is an easy fix. So I just think about how many companies are out there that just don't have that exposure. Not to say that they're ignorant people, but they're just ignorant to maybe some of those solutions out there. So then a company like yours comes in, and whether they're when I think about companies merging or being acquired, I usually go to one of two places. Either one, they're killing it and looking for, the big payday.
The big payday.
Yeah, they're really struggling. But really, there's a third, right? And that's it's gotten to a point where it's more than I want to chew. Like I had this vision of scaling this company, it being great, but now like I'm just overwhelmed and there's so much. And then somebody like you coming in and looking at it and be like, hey, like we got you, and it just being like such a beautiful thing, like to have all these solutions out, make their life so much easier. No, it's cool because again, like when I think about mergers and acquisitions, it's one of the two. It's the big payday or the like things are going really badly and I need to get out. But there's a third, which is it's just too much and I need some help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and exactly right. I mean, that's the sweet spot. I mean, for us, I mean that's the absolute sweet spot. And we don't have crazy ambitious goals with that. Like we'd love to get another acquisition in this year if possible. We'd love to get into 2026 and talk about what would it look like if we did one a quarter, and then marrying that to the organic growth, and then kind of again it's about merging and continuing to merging those best practices and continue to refine, and we're fortunate to bring in those other folks, not just for their accounts, but like I said, for their for their insights, and even when it comes to more get into the weeds of logistics, it's like our business historically has been mostly, let's just say it's mostly van freight. And then you go all of a sudden you find one of these, you get an acquisition relationship that's got a lot of flatbed freight. It also allows for us to diversify our carrier network and then diversify our load mix and then diversify our risk. And there's a lot of benefit to it. Allows for us to go back and build additional tech, and so there's a lot of benefit that we feel more so than just organic growth that we can get by doing some M&A as well, but not have it serve as a distraction, right? Like what you don't want to do, especially in this market, and this, Will, it's like you have to niche down a little bit. Like you can't just be everything to everybody, and so for us, there is a delicate balance of making sure that we're not you can't it's really easy to make mistakes by spreading yourself too wide and having a million goals and all this. So we try to let those two goals, M&As and organic growth, kind of cross pollinate with each other, and that way they're like the left hand serving the right hand, and then vice versa. So it's helped us, but you got to be disciplined. I mean, you got to be disciplined. You can't go and spend 10 minutes on this call talking about your culture and then also go bring in 15 new people that might wreck your culture, right? So you have to delicately balance, how you do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all great stuff. And it sounds like you guys remain quite fluid, like open-minded, right? Open to different types of perspective. And then when thinking about our merger, it's easy to look at numbers, right, and monetize that, but you're talking about this knowledge or perspective that might come in, and then maybe it turns on a light bulb for you guys, then you're able to create something around that. So it's I don't know, it's interesting. We don't do any of that here, or haven't yet, but it's always been something that I'm interested in. Hearing you talk about it, it's refreshing because again, it's a different take on it than I've heard, or maybe I've just listen to things a certain way, but it's interesting to hear you guys talk, or hear you talk about that and your perspective on the mergers.
I mean, y'all know how much tribal knowledge is in this industry, right? So it's like, and a lot of people look at it and say, man, the tribal knowledge can sink us. And I look at it and say, I'd like some of that dude's tribal knowledge. Yeah. That guy's tribal knowledge is pretty, like, how can I want some of that? And so our CEO, Jeff, he was the founder of Turbo, right? TMS system. Yeah. It's like their whole thing, Jeff's whole love language is taking unstructured data and making it structured data. That's his, he dreams of taking unstructured tribal data and making it structured so that you can measure it, do things with it, put it in BIs, put it in analytics reports. And so when we go into these environments, we want to take as much of that unstructured data, some of that tribal knowledge, capture it, measure it, put it into where we can look at it, evaluate it, use it. That way also, when we get into another M&A situation, we've got this playbook, this roadmap where we just say, we just roll it in, and then you refine it and improve it and do it again, and then we roll it in. And then you end up taking some of that discipline on the organic side. And what we try to do is say, okay, we built this stuff, we built these efficiencies, we built this automations. What I do as a CRO and previously VP of sales is I'm coming in and saying, how can I give my customers a better experience with some of the stuff we're doing internally? That's kind of our organic go to market is like, the old way of doing things is you've got so much duplication of efforts, so much where it's like you've got a trainee or a track and trace or a carrier sales guy, talking to the carriers, doing this thing. Then you've got that information traveling to the account manager or the broker some way. And then you've got a customer who internally, they've got 2-3 people also kind of transmitting that information, right? Whether it's customer service or the doc team or whatever.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times all 5 of those people are like initiating and taking information all at the same time. It's like, as we build this tech, as we build this stuff where we're able to take data and put it in a place, that's our organic go-to model is the old model of saying single point of contact, whatever you need, just trust me, just call me. Here's my cell phone number. You don't need anything but my cell phone number. If you have my cell phone number, then you've got everything you need. Well, the downside of that is I actually got to call you. And then when this guy calls me, I got to call them. And then he's the one that calls you. And so like what we do is like, we just give you the keys. Like we give everybody basically log into our TMS, like the customers, we're building the data. If I know the dwell time, if I build a report to say, what's my average dwell time at my shippers, and I'm using tracking data and I'm doing cool stuff and I want to measure for operationals and trying to mitigate the things like detention. If I know that, why doesn't my customer know that? And so like our go-to-market is like it's this data belongs to the customer. And so like I'm just going to feed my customer this data. If the POD comes in and Johnny in track and trace knows it instantly, why doesn't my customer know it instantly? And so when we onboard these in part of our M&A, we refine, it forces us guys to like look at a company and say, where can we optimize? Where can we automate? Where can we do this? And then we say, wow, that, and then we just roll that right back into our organic stuff and put it right back into our customers. And so it's this like flywheel of improving the customer experience that's really benefited us, I think.
Yeah, they're saying data is the new gold, right? But the caveat to that is, okay, if you don't know how to use your data, or you're talking about this unstructured data to like read it or do anything with it, it's really useless. So that's such a 2025 skill, right? Like that's so valuable to have somebody that can do that. And then talking about all these companies, the majority don't know how to do that. Really and truly, like the people you're talking to and the ones that you're merging with or thinking about buying, like that's just next level stuff that most people don't get to, right? So yeah, I mean that's awesome. So you're building machines, really. This improvement machines.
And like I mentioned, I mean, there's talented people everywhere, and even inside the industry, competitors. Like, if you would have told me 15, 16 years ago when I first started doing this, like, yeah, you'll probably get on a call every week or two, or a couple calls a week with other guys that compete for the same business you do, and ask them what they're doing well and what's working. I'd be like, absolutely not, no chance. Yeah. Like, don't tell Kenny, like he'll kick me out of here. But that's how you got to do it now. And there's so much good stuff out there that it's all about improving what you can do so that you improve your customer experience. For us, it's all about that customer experience, like reducing just the riffraff and the waste on their end.
Yeah, I think we should. I'm kind of curious your take on this because we're talking about the customer experience. Obviously, you guys are very tech oriented as well, and Will and I have had both sides on the show, and we talked about Chris about this too, and he didn't really see it as a threat to his type of business just because of the quality of carrier sales reps. And then you're obviously seeing these carrier AI bot companies raise hundreds of millions of dollars, and some people you talk to think it's the greatest thing ever. And then I think Will and I both know executives who have tried it out and said it's a disaster because all the truck drivers just hang up and they're not open to it. I mean, what's kind of, maybe you don't have to talk on this individual topic, but how do you kind of like weave in AI to make your customer experience better, the carrier experience? Has that been like a challenged with just hearing all this AI all out there, and everyone's got a different take on it?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a good question. I think the first thing you have to do is, if you don't know every single thing that a human being at your company does every single day, then you got to start there. Like, you can't just go and say, well, Happy Robots built this awesome thing. I want it. Sign me up. Here, take my money. You have to know your organization. You have to know everything in your organization. What does a human being do every single day? And then you take those things and you say, okay, what's the least common denominator? In other words, what are the things on this that anybody can do? What are the things on this that if my wife came in right now and picked up a phone could do? And then those are the things that we start to bucket up and say, okay, how can we automate this? And then you just keep leveling up. And so then it's like, okay, there's this list of things that only the most talented account managers should be handling. Okay, so then you move those over here. And then you say, okay, if only the most talented account managers need to be handling this, then I say, okay, then what else are those most talented account managers handling? And then you just get this flywheel of automation where you're making sure that the most talented people in your organization are handling the things that only they can handle. You have your contributors, your operators handling the things that are most likely to have exceptions, most likely to have inherent risk for your company, right? And then you have everything else. So in our opinion, everything else is up for grabs with automation. So that's a long preview to answer. My opinion is anything that can help me get my most talented people solving the hardest problems directly with my customers, I'm game. I don't see it as a threat at all. Now the threat is if you obsess over the automation versus what that automation actually solves for you, because if it's not actually solving for you, taking away those tasks in a way that allows your people to be freed up to go do something else, then in my opinion, you missed it. Like, the whole point is to free up your people. It's not a threat to my people. It should be, if you do it right, it's allowing my people to be superheroes. Like, it's allowing my people, I say, what is your superpower? Great. That's all I want you to do. So what are the things that you're doing right now that's not part of your superpower? And then what of those things can I automate? And so it's not threatening our folks. It's putting our folks in a position where every day that they come in, they're getting as close to what they're best at as possible, with either the carrier, which is our customer. And when I say our customer experience, I'm talking about our carriers and our customers. We automate. So does that mean that we might automate carrier calls? Sure, absolutely. But am I going to be automating a $140,000 load of solar panels? Probably not. Am I going to be, if we've got an influx of inbound calls and I want to take it from 100 to 20 that are more likely to be a fit for somebody who's actually going to talk? Sure, I'll automate that. I'll ask qualifying questions with automate. Who are you? Where are you? Who are you? Where do you work? And where are you? Like those sorts of, sure, automate that. Different things like that. We want to automate that. We don't see that. We don't see that as a threat at all. And then also, when we look at exception management, we look at ways to automate that as well. So it's not so reactionary. It's like trying to identify problems before they happen using data and AI to identify potential scenarios and involving the people that need to know, right? It's like the old way is you have these track and trace people that are like, they're sniffing out trucks that are going to be late tomorrow, or you have compliance people that are sniffing out certain stuff. Like any of the stuff that we can automate to take some of the pressure off, those people and those tasks, we want to automate that. We want to absolutely automate that. So it's about supporting our people, not replacing our people. We can scale a lot more if we keep the people we have doing the things they do best, and then supercharging them by using AI and automations.
Yeah, so
it makes it easier hiring humans too, because you don't have to hire, like you talked earlier about hiring 40 college grads every Tuesday.
Yeah.
When you have AI and automation helping with the basic tasks, I imagine it makes it easier to hire less and more quality, focus more on quality human talent too. And like you said, opening your best reps up to do things that they're more useful for. Sorry, Will, I know you're about to say something.
No, you're good. I just want to say for anybody listening, I think an important thing to ask when considering any, whether it's automation or AI for your organization is, like, what's the purpose? So what it sounded like Ryan's answer was really and truly, like, how do I get more utility out of my talented employees? Like, how do I get more value out of them? Like the ROI, if I have a seat, somebody's been in my company a long time who's a great seller, like they don't need to be tracking trucks. There's absolutely no reason. Like they have
Most
graduated.
expensive track and trace guy you got, right?
At least our view on it at Black Box, speaking for myself, really is truly like, how do I take off some of that low level stuff of them to get more value, utility out of them, and it'll make their lives better, man. That guy doesn't want to be tracking the trucks, but it needs to get done, or like whatever it is, building the load. Like, the most expensive data entry load builder you'll ever have. There's guys slinging loads over there just trying to build 20 fucking Raycons. But that's my take on it. And I think a lot of people, especially LinkedIn forward people, are just kind of like want to do it to say that they do it, to say like, like, we got some AI. It's like, okay, what's it doing for you? Like, what's
and again, it's so tempting to want to try everything. I'll give you an example. Like we went to one of the big vendors that's names around for a lot of good reason, and it just didn't work for us. And we were just like, we're hitting pause. I mean, you can't be afraid also to say it didn't work for us. We're out. Like, you have to have, like I mentioned at the beginning, like with these tools, we just don't know everything, and so you have to have enough kind of. You have to have the guts and the wherewithal and the intelligence to say, hey, let's give it a shot. But you also kind of have to have the humility to say, I don't know if we're ready for that. I don't know if our guys can handle that. I don't know if our girls are interested in that. It's like, because if not, you're just going to spend an absolute ton of money and don't know how to use the tech.
Yeah, but if you can be quick and pivot if it doesn't work out, you guys, it sounds like you're open-minded enough and humble enough to, like, you're not going to like double, triple, quadruple that doesn't work. A lot of people will. I'll say, I think that foresight is overrated. There's some things that we just don't know, and you got to go out there and you got to experience it. And yes, let me leverage this guy's knowledge to think about it full circle. But like, I'm going to go in, everybody going to make mistakes. And if it's not well, you talk about failing, fail well, like take something from it, but back out. Like, you don't have to marry this vendor just because you had a good demo. Demo is going to be great. They've done the demo 500 times. They're going to prop it up and make it sound great. A good thing to do with these people I've started doing recently is asking them, like, where are the struggles, like what's not going well in your pilots. And if they won't give you a candid answer, because there are issues, there are 100% issues, and if they won't talk to you about the issues, 86 of them, cross them out, can't trust them, don't want to work with them.
Yeah, we always ask, who are your super users? We always say, who are your super users? What's their phone number? And then who wears out your tech line? What's their phone number? Like, we want to talk to the people that are submitting tickets like crazy because it's not working for them, and we want to talk to your super user.
Yeah.
And like, we've had calls with folks that are like, here, call this guy. And it's like, great. And then to your point, you've got some people that are like, yeah, we'll send that over. Buddy.
Man, the AI like startup you have no issues. Like, you're rolling out like all these pilots and everything's just going great. Oh, and then you're going to send me the number to your angel investor who's also a user who's going to prop it up. No. You just got to be careful out there. Have some discernment. Talk to some people. Man, at the end of the day, like, if you're in logistics, you probably in sales, you probably get it. They're gonna try to sell you the product. So anyway, my rant for the day is over. Matt's heard me go on this rant twice now today. We're not even.
It is interesting too, the industry we work with, because we're talking about it from a brokerage perspective, but like shippers have different levels of tech too, which you kind of have to tailor to. Obviously, like an enterprise shipper is probably going to care a lot more about tech. I was thinking about this just the other day. My sister's husband now, my sister banned me from getting their freight anyway, so they can't mix family and business, but they're a steel shipper. They do 200 shipments a month. He has no idea what a TMS is. He's the CFO of the company, and his dad is the owner. Like, he has zero knowledge. Like, when we're at like Christmas or something talking about some of these technology stuff, and they're totally don't have any clue. They care more about their steel business and growing that, and logistics isn't really that. Even though they do 200 loads a month, and there's a lot of mid-sized shippers out there too, which is like, I don't know. I feel like it's like a balance too of like what shipper you're talking to. If you're trying to sell that shipper talking about all this AI and tech, you have no idea what you're talking about, but an enterprise shipper is going to have a lot more, knowledge of that too, which I think is a fascinating part about our industry too.
Yeah, it is a fascinating part about the industry, and it's like, you kind of have to know who you are and why you're doing it. Again, so it's like we're making a certain level of investment in tech. We make an investment so that we can. What I told you was, we want to serve our customers. We want to give our customers a better experience. We want to supercharge our people. So when I go to sell to a shipper like that, I'm not going to just pound my chest and say we have AI, we have digital, we have tech. It's like besides, that's not the point. I just told you what we want to do is give our customer a good experience. So it's like you have to know who you're talking to. We actually target those types of people because it's like, it may look and feel like your incumbent broker, but what you don't understand is we know where the bodies are buried in some of the other brokerages. We know, like, what we're going to do behind the scenes is do things in a way that allows for us to have better compliance with the trucks that are coming in, better visibility into your freight, better data, not just for you, but your CEO, your CIO, whoever needs it. We're going to have better accountabilities to where if stuff starts to hit the fan, we'll be able to troubleshoot quicker. And so, and none of that I tell them all the AI that makes that possible for our team. But it's just, again, about giving the customer the experience that they want. And so, like, a lot of people that have the tech and the new tech, they just look at us. We have all this tech. And it's like, you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to go, and I tell those types of shippers, like, listen, we are a tech forward brokerage. If you Google us, you're going to see the word tech pretty quick. Our CEO, founded a tech company, sold a tech company. Like, we're tech. But we've got veteran account managers that have been hustling freight for a long time. They know how to get their hands dirty. You're not going to talk to a bot. We've got, account manager that starts drinking freight Diet Dew at 8 a.m. He's ready to get into the weeds. You got to have a freight do, right? So it's like, but you're going to get into the weeds with you. Like, you don't want to scare them into thinking they're going to have to adopt all this tech. And that's the beauty of what we do. We can go and we can talk to a CIO that is just obsessed with tech. And Jeff can get on a Teams call with that guy, and 3 hours later, they're just still talking about data. And at which point I've probably already left the chat, it's like, but at the same time, we can get with this steel mill guy that's forklift certified, and I can give that dude an experience that he's going to like, and you mentioned earlier, well, I wrote it down. We learned back in the day in the big brokerages, like with the market, when the market changes, you got to set your company up to where you either win or you win. And so it's the same way with outbound outreach. When you start doing these tools, you got to be able to go into every environment and with a certain level of empathy, perceptibility to where you're going. That's you're going into these conversations where just because you invested in this tech, you can't assume this guy gives a crap, right? And so it's like for me, the best use of all that tech is when it supercharges your own people. That way you can still go and empathize with the human being on the other side of the phone or the email that you're trying to get business from, whether that's a carrier or a customer alike. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, framing relevance for any tech. There's a lot of tech sales people that like really know the tech, but maybe not like the human aspect, like that empathy you're describing. It's like being able to frame the value for whoever you're trying to sell to, right? It's like sometimes you're on this call, it's like, man, what you're describing is probably really cool and like really valuable, but like I don't know what you're talking about or like how. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like put it in their language, right? Talk about that framing. So like either win or win, or you're gonna lose.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have that mentality, if you have to have that mentality, like you have to, in this market especially, you have to be diligently thinking, how can I add value and solve a problem for this person? Every time we do meetings or we do this, I talk to Jeff. He's always like, what problem are they trying to solve? And I'm like, I just told you that they're steel and they do this. He's like, yeah, but what problem are they trying to solve? Like if you can't understand what problem they're trying to solve, you can have all the tools and tech and talent in the world, but you're in the wrong market to get business if you can't figure out like what does this guy actually need,
Yeah, you won't know what you're truly like need to sell. It's a dog eat dog market.
Something like a hey.
Hey, all right, man. Well, we're at an hour here, Ryan. Man, we appreciate you coming on. It was a great conversation. I learned a lot, man. Excellent guest. We appreciate you making the time to join us today.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right,
thanks again, Ryan. It was fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, enjoyed that, man. You can tell why they're growing. I mean, he's a I learned a lot. I mean, their mindset, I think, was the biggest thing I took away from. I mean, a lot of brokerages, like you said, dig their feet in, aren't very adaptable. I mean, they're a pretty nimble company, it sounds like. And, yeah, it was a fun episode.
Yeah, it was. No, it was really good. I'm sure I'll be clipping something from that and posting it out. Probably gonna steal some of the stuff he said and try to implement it here at Black Box as well. So it's always good when something like that happens. From like, man, this is useful for us. So no, great stuff. Well, shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Logistics, People's Choice 3PL, Birmingham, Alabama. Great freight brokerage.
HT Ships, you're looking to be an agent. Love to chat with you. Sales Dash CRM, OG sponsor, freight specific CRM. Hit up Josh or Drew. And TAFS, our banner sponsor, top 10 factoring company. Hit up Ryan or Rob if you're looking for a factoring company. And yeah, we'll be back with you next week.
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll talk soon, Matt.
Talk soon. Bye.
Peace.